Welcome to the Noesis Interactive courseware on Unity Mobile. Unity Mobile allows you to build to mobile platforms such as the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, or an Android device. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to set up Unity to build to an Android device, which will involve setting up the Android SDK and configuring our Android device. Finally, we'll take a look at how to distribute our app on the Android market, which is similar to the App Store from Apple. Other tutorials in this series include a tutorial on how to set up Unity to build to an iPhone, iPod Touch, or other iOS device. And finally, a mobile game scripting tutorial which makes use of accelerometer and multi-touch data for the purposes of a skateboarding game. This tutorial assumes you have Unity 3 installed and an add-on license for the Android build target. If you don't currently have the Android add-on license, you can request a trial license from Unity Technologies. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm using a Nexus 1 as my development phone. You can find all Android-based phones under the Google Phone Gallery, which you can get to by searching for Google Phone Gallery from any search engine. The most important thing when selecting an Android device for development is to make sure that it has Android version 2.2 installed and has a 3D accelerated chipset. Before we begin, you'll need to make sure that your Android device has been updated to the latest OS. These OS updates are usually pushed directly to the phone. However, you can also check for these updates by going to the Settings menu on your phone, scrolling to the bottom and going to About Phone, and selecting System Updates. At this point, you should have the Unity manual open in your web browser. If you don't, you can get to that from within Unity by going to Help, Unity Manual, or going to your Applications folder for Unity and selecting Documentation. By default, Android-specific documentation is hidden, so you can turn that on by clicking on the Android icon from the main page of the Unity manual. Once you've selected that, you'll notice the Android guide is available. Go ahead and click on this now. The Android guide is similar to the iOS guide in terms of helping you set up and make use of the features of your Android device. Since we're just getting started, we'll want to go to the Android SDK setup page. We're going to walk through the individual steps of setting up our Android SDK. However, I wanted to point this page out in case you need to get back to it for reference. The first thing we'll need to do is go to the Android Developer SDK webpage and download the latest SDK. I'm developing with Unity on Mac OS X, so I'm going to download the OS X SDK. If you are developing on Windows, you need to select the Windows SDK. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the SDK, you should move it to a permanent location on your hard drive. For this example, I'm going to just move it to my home directory. Moving on to step 2, we now need to install the SDK. The first thing you'll need to do for preparing your computer is to make sure you have JDK installed. JDK is the Java Development Kit.